And welcome into another Football Friday. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios on 97.3 ESPN. We got the picks. We got the information you need to have. If you're watching on X on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. You might notice some new additions, some changes to the outline of this background of this show. We will get into that coming up in a few minutes. But let's run down again. We do not spend an hour and a half, 2 hours here doing this show. Every week, every Friday night, we are continuing the tradition since 2018. I'm sitting in the 97.3 ESPN studio. For years, we would do Football Friday picks on the radio. Now we're doing exclusively on the stream, YouTube and X. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends. All right? Now, I got a full load of Labor Day weekend picks. Remind everybody, we do not give away picks on the days that we are on. So the only picks we're giving away are Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Also, NFL win totals is on the sheet. So we will review what happened last week. We will get into what happens this week. But at the top of the show, I do need to give all of you a very important announcement. As you notice, there are some new graphics on the screen. I am officially announcing that Football Fridays is in part presented in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio by my friends at Tropicana Atlantic City and Caesars Sportsbook. Here's the deal. Starting in September, each month we will be live at, now this is a new thing Tropicana Atlantic City has. It's called the Gridiron Pit, powered by Caesars Sportsbook, where you can watch football on large, high-definition TV screens while enjoying casino table games, seat-side food delivery on a tailgate-inspired menu. And don't forget, they will be open Eagles. Whoop, wrong side. Whoop. See, you would think I would get this right by now, but I haven't. Listen, having to do things backwards is not come nature to me, okay? But still, Caesars Sportsbook in Tropicana Atlantic City is where you find the Gridiron Pit, okay? The Eagles opening night game, they will be open for that game at the Gridiron Pit, is where you want to be. And we will be there hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN September 6th. We have a great giveaway we're going to give away that day, so keep it tuned right here to my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig at 973 ESPN on X. We will have all the details for you on the giveaway, the event, and much, much more. So, Tropicana Atlantic City, the Gridiron Pit, it is opening the first time this football season. We are very excited to partner with Tropicana Atlantic City. And starting next month as well, I will have a special promo code for Caesars Sportsbook. If you are in the state of New Jersey, you will have the opportunity to receive a bonus bet with a special promo code, because the Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. Like at Tropicana Atlantic City, when you bet on Gridiron action, you earn perks to every game like hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more. You'll get a new promo code next month. So, Caesars Sportsbook, here's the deal. You get the app. You place wagers with the app. You earn bonus points that then you go to Tropicana Atlantic City, go to the Gridiron Pit, and you can use your bonus points at any Caesars property, but especially at the Gridiron Pit, where you want to be. They will be open Eagles, Cowboys opening night, and then every Saturday and Sunday they will be open all day and night for football games. Right there with a tailgate-inspired menu. It's going to be an incredible football season with me, Josh Hennig, Tropicana Atlantic City, and Cedar Sportsbook. We've got you covered all football season long on 97.3 ESPN FM and right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig on X. So again, we had to start off with the big announcement. We will have more details tomorrow on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and throughout the week. So you see up top, see all the social medias. Follow them all because the updates will be coming throughout the week as well. A special giveaway next Saturday. Now, tomorrow on Hanging with Hennig, we are giving away an Eagles shirt, a Phillies City Connect hat, and other prizes when you play trivia. Again, that's how you win prizes with me, Josh Hennig. Of course, right here on my YouTube channel at 973 ESPN, at Josh Hennig on YouTube and X. So, before we get anything else, let's get into what we are doing today. So, we are going to do a quick recap of last Friday's Football Friday picks, okay? Week 0 is always a funky thing. I understand that it's much more of a deep, nuanced conversation when it comes to football when we get into officially week 1 of the season. But let's review really quick because, again, we do accountability. Since 2018, we have been tracking these picks. Last year in college football, 64.4%. The year before, 66.4%. The year before that, 2022, we were at 60.2%. The year before, in 2021, we were at 66.1%. So we track the picks right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. How did we do last week? Well, we only went 3-2. What was the biggest win? What was the biggest loss? Well, I think the obvious one, the biggest loss was the over-under in the Iowa State-Kansas State game. I got to give the weather psychos credit. The people who were paying attention to the weather before that Kansas State-Iowa State game in Ireland, that was a huge win for those people. There were a bunch of people who were saying the weather has a chance to be very messy, very sloppy. They turned out to be right. The under hit. The quarterbacks couldn't get their footing. But you know what? Rocco Becht, amazing game. Avery Johnson, that turnover problem is still an issue. Remember, they are 6-1 as Kansas State when Avery Johnson has no turnovers and has a minimum 60% completion percentage. Well, what did he do last week? He fumbled, he had turnovers, and they lost the game. So Kansas State, not a great start to the year. But again, that was a game that we totally got wrong, and we admit that right here in the Dr. Squatch Virtual Studio. We tell you when we get it right, we tell you when we get it wrong. The big win, obviously, listen, Dominic Toretto always says, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning. Hawaii covered by half a point. We got that cover in the end. Oh boy, that was a nail biter. That was one of those. When I saw their quarterback, Alejandro, go down, I was so nervous. I was like, great, are we going to be able to get this game? Well, we did. Barely. So we squeezed that game out. And, overall last week, I think last week is a great opportunity, again, when it comes to sports betting, to learn about what makes sense, what doesn't. Obviously, we should pay closer attention, all of us, to some of these weather conditions in these games. We also should pay attention to, as Pam Maldonado told us the previous week from ESPN.com, she told us that, you can't let the hype, get a hold of you. And so I think what we saw last week with UNLV unable to cover the spread, but Kansas able to cover the spread, two different situations, but the same result. The hype bit a team. The hype took UNLV down a notch. On the flip side, we saw Kansas coming into the season, and people were kind of wondering, is Kansas legit? Jalen Daniels? Well, one team came out and proved they belong in Kansas, and UNLV, well, they look really much like the team that we talked about right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig at Josh Hennig on X, at Josh Hennig on YouTube in the Dr. Squatch Virtual Studios. We told you to take the under on UNLV on the win total. And guess what? You still have time to get that at the Caesars Sportsbook because you can do an in-season bet with some of these wagers. So remember, just because you didn't get it week 1 doesn't mean you can't get it right now. All right? So that's a little review of what happened last week. So now let's get into the weekend picks. Long Labor Day weekend. But we're going to highlight a handful of games. These are the games that we're going to highlight. These are the games that we are going to keep a close eye on this weekend. And then at the end, we will get to the win totals. Again, don't forget, all of the lines, all of the odds are presented by Caesars Sportsbook, the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, okay? So keep that in mind. I don't want anybody, we don't do big wagers around here. This ain't some high roller club. This is what we have been doing for years, Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the 97.3 ESPN studios. Since sports betting became legal in 2018, this is a merger of information, projections, football knowledge. We bring it all together for you right here. And again, we are brought to you in part by Caesar Sportsbook and Tropicana Atlantic City, the new Gridiron Pit debuting Thursday night, Eagles, Cowboys. All right. So let's get into the picks. All right. Again, we went 3-2 last weekend. We are going to try to up the ante on that this week. Okay. So let's get into the picks right now. Just give me 1 sec. I got to make sure I clear out my, people don't even know I'm on. They don't even know I'm streaming. They're not watching. They don't know I'm busy. Like, yo, I'm busy. I'm doing something. All right. Here are the picks, what everybody's been waiting for. Again, thank you for watching, whether you're watching on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you're watching on X, repost, like. You can comment if you're on YouTube. Thank you all for watching. If you have any college football, NFL questions, we go through these games. Hit them up. Hit me up. I'll get to them. Again, this is not a 90-minute show. This is we get in, we get out, we hit the picks. Let's go. Let's start with the big game of the weekend. Texas, Ohio State. A lot of hype around this. Heisman Trophy candidates, big-time quarterbacks, head coaches who have pedigree, right? Ryan Day coming off a national championship. Steve Sarkisian has elevated Texas from basically being an above-average program back to the pinnacle of what they used to be. Quote-unquote, Texas is back. They are back. Well, I'm here to tell you that the pick in this game, you want to stay away from the line. Here's why. It has come out this week that the line has moved 2 to 3 points at almost every sports book. If you look at Caesar Sportsbook, you will see that the line has moved 1.5 to 2 points, depending on what state you are in. A ton of public money has come in on Texas. And whenever the public goes heavy one direction, that is a sign for you either to run the other direction or stay completely away. For me, I'm staying completely away because this is the kind of game that somebody drops, one of those sharp guys, drops a huge wager Saturday morning when no one's paying attention. I am not going to get caught up in that storm. The bet for this game is not the spread. It's the over-under. All right? Give me under 47.5. Why? Ohio State safety Caleb Downs, along with Texas linebackers Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill, are just some of the NFL draft picks that will be on the field in this game. You do not want to be the team that has to play Ohio State and Texas at full health this year because they got the kind of defensive impact players that are going to be playing in the NFL one day. I don't think this is going to be one of those games where you are going to be able to you're not going to be able to make hay with some of these guys. You're just not, okay? I think Sane and Julian Sane, the Ohio State quarterback, and Texas Arch Manning, they're going to have their moments. But I think that these teams have spent all offseason preparing for this game. And when you have a ton of time to prepare, this is going to be like a stalemate for like the first quarter. Not going to be a ton of points scored in the first half. They'll score a little bit more in the second half. Ultimately, my lean, if you had to ask me what is going to win, listen, the home team in these games typically wins. But I like the under 47.5. I think this is one of those like 24-20 kind of games. Maybe one of those games where it's like just close the entire game, and then one team pulls away, and I'm assuming it's going to be Ohio State, but we'll find out. But again, the pick for the game, under 47.5 because of the defensive players involved. I just mentioned Alabama. Caleb Downs left Alabama to go to Ohio State. So the next game we're going to focus on this weekend, Alabama at Florida State. I love Florida State to cover the 14.5. Alabama unable to reload defensively. They have done, you've heard me talk about it right here on my YouTube channel, at Josh Hennig, at Josh Hennig on X, right here in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. We have told you before, Kellen DeBoer was not the right hire for Alabama. This is a guy who has not done a great job of recruiting. So, as a result, who left? Caleb Downs, Who left? Julian Sain. Kellen DeBoer did not reload this offseason defensively. He reloaded it offensively, but not defensively. That is where it's going to come in to bite them. Tommy Castellanos, the new quarterback for Florida State, he is a perfect fit for the offensive coordinator, Gus Malzahn. He loves dual threat quarterbacks. And if you remember, wait a minute, I've heard that Gus Malzahn name before. Where did he coach for years? Auburn. And what was he great at? Finding dual threat quarterbacks that made Alabama's life hell. So, you get a mobile quarterback in an offense where he's a perfect fit coordinator player. And an Alabama defense that did not reload well. No Nick Saban anymore. This is Kellen DeBoer. You are not getting the apex alpha dogs year in and year out on the defense here. I love Florida State to cover. I don't know if they'll win outright, only because of the fact that Alabama still has some studs on the offensive side of the ball. I think Alabama is going to be able to score some points in this game. But Florida State is not losing by 2 touchdowns. So give me Florida State plus 14.5. Tommy Castellanos, Gus Malzahn. They got to have a plan for this game. And Alabama's defense is going to look sketchy. All right. Next game we are watching this weekend. Syracuse versus Tennessee. I say versus because this is a neutral site game. Very important to keep an eye on. If this game was in Tennessee, if this was at Rocky Top, I would say take volunteers all day and night. But because it's neutral site and you're giving Fran Brown, who's one of the best recruiters in college football, now the head coach of Syracuse, an entire offseason to plan for a Tennessee team, remember, no Iko Amalieva. Nico left. He transferred to UCLA. They had a huge dispute. You have a new quarterback coming in. It's not the quarterback from last year. Brand new quarterback. Syracuse is going to scare the you-know-what out of Tennessee. Tennessee will win this game, but they will not run away with this game. Neutral site always means that the team that is the underdog has a better chance to win. Do not pick Tennessee to run away with this game. Now, if you're someone who feels like, well, look, Josh, Syracuse, they're a nice story, but they're not going to be able to hold up for all 4 quarters. That's fine. Take the first half cover. But either way, do not be surprised if this game ends up one of those 30-20 kind of games, right? Where Tennessee wins, but it's not going to be just a runaway victory. Next game we're watching this weekend in college football. I know you're gonna if you're drinking something, finish the drink. If you're eating something, finish chewing. So I don't want you to spit your food or drink out. You good? All right. Montana State at Oregon. I know. Some of you didn't even know Montana State was at a school, but hear me out for a sec. Montana State, 3 of the last 4 years, has been an FCS contender. They have contended year in and year out at the D1A level. Okay, it's the level right below the FBS, where many of us are familiar with college football. Montana State is a team that has something to prove this weekend. And that something to prove has a lot to do with the fact that Oregon is starting a lot of young players. A lot of young kids are coming out in this game. So, if you are Montana State and you have a history of contending and competing at a high level, are you going to win the game? Probably not. But you have a chance to make it very interesting. 26.5, way too many points. So, give me Montana State to cover the spread. I think that 26.5 is way too much. Look, Oregon can win this game. 40-21. You covered the spread. You're all good, right? So, don't get hung up on Montana State. Look at Oregon as a team that has almost half of their team is freshmen at this point starting. They are starting a lot of young guys, freshmen, sophomores. This is not going to be Dan Lanning's best game. This is going to be the game he's going to use the tune-up to get Oregon up and running for the rest of the season. All right, moving on. LSU Clemson. And everyone's going to say, Garrett Nussmeier and Kay Klubnik, 2 Heisman Trophy candidates. But again, if you're giving coaches an entire offseason to prepare for you, they're going to be ready for you. The new Clemson defensive coordinator is Tom Allen, the former Indiana head coach, was with Penn State last year. He ran a very, very aggressive defense last year. Now, he has got potential number 1 overall pick in the future NFL draft, TJ Parker, on the Clemson defense. This Clemson defensive front is a bunch of studs. I know people are concerned about Clemson's secondary, but the 2017 Eagles proved, as well as the 2019 LSU Tigers proved, if you have a bona fide pass rush, you can cover up your secondary. You see in the NFL, you see in college football. LSU, they are replacing both of their starting tackles on each side of the line. That is bad news for Garrett Musmeyer. So I think under 57.5 is the play. This is going to be one of those 28, 24 kind of games, maybe 30, 21. I'm not even fully sure who's going to win the game, to be honest with you. I feel like an argument can be made for both sides. I think an argument can be made that LSU can get a lead and then milk the clock. There could also be an argument made that Clemson gets a lead and milks the clock. Either way, I think defense is going to win out in some of these matchups. This will not be one of those 35-30 kind of games. I think that this is going to be defensive coordinators are going to shut it down the first half, and the offenses will wake up in the second half. That's why I like the 57.5 for LSU and Clemson, the clash of the Tigers and the Heisman Trophy candidates. All right, a couple more to get into before we get to the NFL win totals. Again, like, subscribe, share with your friends. All lines presented by Caesars Sportsbook, the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. Virginia Tech at South Carolina. Again, another over-under. A lot of people are taking Virginia Tech to cover the spread in this game. I'm not as confident about in Virginia Tech as other people are, but I am confident, not in Virginia Tech's offense, in their defense. Under 52.5. I think Virginia Tech and South Carolina both have a lot of studs on defense. They both have guys who are holdovers from last year's teams who are ready to break out. And I think that while people are going to be focused on the quarterbacks in this game, specifically the North Sellers of South Carolina, I think that this is going to be one of those 28-21, 24-21 kind of games where it's going to be a bit of a slobber knocker fest in the first half. Again, if you have all offseason to prepare for somebody, it's not going to be easy to score points on them. So give me the under 52.5 for Vodtech and South Carolina. The same reason is why I like Notre Dame at Miami under 49.5. I am not sold on Carson Beck. This whole concept of Carson Beck is going to be this megastar, and that, listen, there's a reason why Carson Beck transferred. And it wasn't just because of the injury. It was because he was expected to be a top prospect, and he did not look like it in his last 2 years at Georgia. He went to Miami to kind of retool his image, maybe do what Cam Ward did, elevate his profile, and also his girlfriend goes to the University of Miami. So he wants to hang out with his girlfriend, and he wants to improve his draft stock. I'm still not impressed. I think Marcus Freeman's done an amazing job at recruiting at Notre Dame. That defense is ready to make Miami struggle for every point in this game. And I know Mario Cristobal, himself a U alum, knows about the rivalry between Notre Dame and Miami over the years. This is going to be a bit of a rock fight in the first half. Second half, the action will pick up. Finally, I mentioned defense. Monday night, TCU at North Carolina. Bill Belichick's first game. Look, we may not know what Bill Belichick looks like. We may not know what Gino Lopez is going to look like as a quarterback for North Carolina. But what I know is if anyone knows how to prepare for a game, it's Bill Belichick. And do you really think that Bill Belichick's first home game in college football, he's going to allow 30 points or more to a visiting team? I don't think so. Belichick is going to make TCU fight for every yard in this game. He is going to have a plan. He is one of the greatest coaches of all time. I have no idea what Bill Belichick's long-term prognosis is as a head coach in college, but I know for one game, if you want anyone to have 6-8 months to prepare for it, you're giving Bill Belichick, one of the greatest game planners of all time, an eternity to prepare for college kids. This isn't even the NFL. TCU doesn't even have one of the top 10, 15, 20 quarterbacks in college football. You think they're going to score 30 points? Absolutely not. Give me the under team total TCU. 30.5. And again, all lines brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook, the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. Bet on Gridiron action and earn perks on every game like host Delasays at Tropicana Atlantic City, where we will be September 6th in the Gridiron Pit. You can bet on Caesars Sportsbook this weekend and then go to the Gridiron Pit for Eagles-Cowboys Thursday night or Saturday when we are there for college football, or all day Sunday. You can take those perks and rewards, go to Tropicana Atlantic City with the Caesars Sportsbook app. Again, they are the presenting sponsor of Football Fridays right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig and on X as well. All right, as I promised, we have NFL over-unders to get to before we get out of here. We're going to try to keep this at 30 minutes every single Friday, Football Friday. We get in, we get out right here on my YouTube channel. My favorite NFL win totals. I got a six-pack for you guys. Are you ready? Carolina Panthers, under 6.5. I think this team wins 3 to 5 games this year. I don't think they'll be the worst team in football, but I think losing Adam Thielen and Hunter Renfrow is a bad sign. You cannot tell me that Xavier Legette is that good, okay? That you feel comfortable if you're Carolina to trade away Adam Thielen and to release Hunter Renfrow. I think Carolina is going to be competitive, but I don't think they're winning a ton of games this year. All right? How about an over? Packers, over 10.5. This is an obvious pick. You acquire Micah Parsons. You're a top contender in the NFC. I think the Packers can win 11 games with their schedule. They got some tough matchups, I understand. But I think Micah Parsons is going to be the difference maker. I can see a scenario where the Packers sweep their entire division. There's a scenario where they beat the Lions, the Vikings, and the Bears every time. That's 6 wins on your schedule right there. Automatic 6 wins. And by the way, that Cowboys game, that's 7. The Browns game, that's 8. You only need 3 more wins to cover this. This is a no-brainer to me. The line already moved by a win and a half with the Micah Parsons trade. I think this is a deal that, look, I think the Packers win 11, 12 games this year. I really do. I think they win the division. That's why I'm also sticking the Lions under 10.5 wins. I think the Lions are in a lot of trouble. I don't think it's a coincidence that they lose both their coordinators. Frank Ragnow. Raiola was the center before Ragnow. Frank Ragnow is the center now. He retired this offseason. And that's a huge blow to their offensive line. So they lose their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. They have injuries already on this team heading into the season. I have a lot of concerns. About what the Lions are going to be. Their line is at 10.5 at Caesars Sportsbook. This is probably more an 8-9 win team. I think the Packers are going to win the division. I think a team like the Minnesota Vikings are going to give the Lions a lot of trouble because they did not reload on their offensive line like they had hoped. And I tend to think that when it comes to a sport like football, it begins in the trenches. And Aiden Hutchinson returning from injury, I don't know what he's going to look like. So give me the under 10.5 for the Lions. Next in the 6-pack, this is also an obvious one. Cowboys under 7.5. Do you really think with the Cowboys schedule, they're going to win 8-9 games? I don't even think they make the postseason. You can place one of those wagers where Cowboys miss the postseason, and I'm fine with that at Caesars Sportsbook. Guess what? Cowboys under 7.5. I think that's where it's going to go. Okay, I think that's the direction we're going to go in. I think Cowboys win 5 to 6 games. If they win a 7th game, they're going to be lucky. All right, I think it's going to be a rough year for them. 2 more on the 6-pack of NFL win total picks to get to. We're at the 30-minute mark. Let's hit them. Buccaneers over 9.5. Everyone underestimates this team every single year. Baker Mayfield, dark horse MVP candidate. I think him, Mike Evans, and the return of Chris Godwin is going to be absolutely monster this year. I like the Bucs. And by the way, Antoine Winfield, dark horse candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. He won't win it because he doesn't get sacks, but he is a phenomenal talent on the defensive back end. Staying in that division, NFC South, I like the Bucs over. I like the Saints under 5.5. I think they are the worst team in all the NFL. 5.5 wins. How do they win 3? They arguably have the worst quarterback room in all of football. Their team did a poor job at rebuilding this offseason. They are a year away from being a year away. I'm supposed to believe in the Saints. Come on. Under 5.5 is where we're going to go with the Saints. And that is our 6-pack of NFL win totals for the season. Again, all odds and numbers and lines brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook, the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. Bet on Gridiron action, earn perks on every game like hotel stays at Tropicana in Atlantic City, as well as bonus bets, game tickets, and much, much more. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, that's the list. That's the rundown. If you missed any of the picks, just hit that rewind button, go back to earlier in the conversation. Reminder, here's the upcoming schedule for me, Josh Hennig. Tomorrow, I'll be yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora for Labor Day weekend. Next Saturday, September 6th, we will be at the Gridiron Pit at Tropicana in Atlantic City. And, of course, Caesars Sportsbook, Tropicana, presenting sponsors of Football Fridays right here on my YouTube channel, at Josh Hennig on X as well. We will be at the Gridiron Pit, powered by Caesars Sportsbook, where you can watch football on large, high-definition screens while enjoying casino table games, seat-side food with a incredible tailgate-inspired menu, and, of course, opportunities to win prizes. And Eagles, Cowboys. Opening night of the NFL season, the Gridiron Pit will be open for you to go to Tropicana in Atlantic City and enjoy the games. And then we will be there a couple days later, September 6th, in the Gridiron Pit, where we will be giving away a great prize. I don't want to give away yet. I don't want to tell you where it is. Well, you will find out if you follow me on social media, at Josh Hennig on Instagram, at Josh Hennig on YouTube, at Josh Hennig on X, or Joshua S. Hennig on Instagram. Well, you can see it. You have eyes. You can see what's on the screen in front of you. Again, Dr. Squatch Virtual Studios. Use the link in my bio for 10% off your next order of Dr. Squatch soap, deodorant, facial cream, and much, much more. Tomorrow, when we are yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora, we are giving away an Eagles t-shirt. We are also giving away a Phillies City Connect hat. And we have one other prize that we will tell you about. We will surprise you with tomorrow when you tune in for Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN, 12 to 3 p.m. Thanks to all of you for tuning in on YouTube and X. Catch you tomorrow for Hanging with Hennig, the full 3-hour Monty. We got Caden Steele, the NJ.com Eagles beat writer. We got AP senior NFL insider Rob Motti. We got fantasy football expert Andy McNamara every Saturday. That's all tomorrow with Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night, everybody. Remember, every Friday night, Football Friday picks all football season long. We've been doing this since 2018, and we're going to keep it going right here. Like, subscribe, at Josh Hennig on YouTube, at Josh Hennig on X.